Does anybody else remember the discourse about how Scott Swift allegedly bought a huge chunk of the first album that Taylor put out to fudge the sales? Well, I saw this post today and then it made me start thinking about the old Reddit thread that I read probably years ago, but let's go through this because this is like lore. And when you realize and remember that Scott Swift made $15 million when Scott Borchetta sold Taylor's masters to Ithaca Holdings, this starts to make a little bit more sense. I'll never forget how excited I was in 2006 when my first album sold 40,000 copies in the first week. I was 16 and couldn't even fathom that many people would care enough about my music to invest their time and energy into it. And then the Reddit theory says, do you believe in the theory that Scott bought thousands of copies of Taylor's debut album? And this person said, yes, there is an interview where an old teacher said Scott Swift used to buy all the unsold tickets of the plays Taylor was in so the theater group could say the play was sold out. I wish I could remember where I read this. It was someone who knew her family in the early years. Not necessarily relevant, but I know someone who's hung out with Scott several times in a casual, non-business setting, and the one thing they said was that Scott is constantly trying to sell them something or convincing them to get something. They said something along the lines of very strong used car salesman vibes. And this person says 100% real country fans didn't like her at all. And in 2006, country music was stacked with a ton of hot artists. If she didn't have her daddy and his connections, she wouldn't have made it to country radio, let alone have enough impact to cross into pop. So here's why people think 40,000 first week was very suspicious. She charted in the top 20 on Billboard 200, which was unheard of for a teenage debut from a label that didn't even have distribution power like RCA or Universal. Kelly Pickler sold twice as many copies, but she had American Idol exposure and major label funding. Meanwhile, Taylor, who was unknown to mainstream audiences, held her chart position steadily for months rather than dropping off, which fueled conspiracy rumors of front-loaded bulk buys to establish early chart credibility. Normally, indie label country debuts in 2006 were around 5,000 to 15,000 units max, unless attached to a major TV platform. Taylor somehow did around 40,000, which put her immediately in the same metric conversation as American Idol finalists, radio veterans, and label priority acts like Sugarland. This, combined with Scott Swift's documented financial position and Big Machine stake, is exactly why Reddit and other fans point to this week as the first start of the warehouse theory. Well, let's break down the debut era radio airplay timeline versus her physical album sales, because the sales versus the exposure mismatch is what made some people believe in this bulk buying warehouse theory. We've got June 19th, 2006, Tim McGraw officially serviced to country radio. Taylor was completely unknown in mainstream country. Late June 2006, only 14 monitored stations added the single. Extremely low ad count compared to Idol-backed artists. July-August 2006 slowly reaches 40 radio stations, very modest support. Most ads come from secondary smaller markets, not major iHeart or Clear channel stations. September 2006 starts gaining minor momentum, video begins rotation on CMT. Still not enough exposure to justify high sales at release. October 24th, 2006, Tim McGraw was number 45 on Billboard Country Airplay with under 1,000 total spins nationwide. This is unusually a low exposure for a debut album selling 40,000 copies. Most artists at this airplay sell 4,000 albums, not 40,000. So the first week, sales estimated 39,000, high debut despite modest radio presence and low mainstream awareness. Week number 2, 28,000, very soft drop. Typically new artists drop 60 to 70%, Taylor dropped about 30%. Week 3, 25,000, again strong retention without corresponding jump in airplay. Week 4, 23,000, sales stayed shockingly consistent, especially without major iHeart Clear channel radio support. So here's why this raised eyebrows. Most new artists require heavy radio rotation to sell physical albums, especially in 2006 when streaming didn't exist. But Taylor had limited radio play, mostly small market stations, minimal MTV or mainstream coverage, no major TV platform like American Idol or Nashville Star, and a brand new label without retail power or shelf visibility. Yet she still posted 40,000 in debut and stable sales? This pattern mirrors label buy strategy sales curves where albums are purchased in controlled bulk quantities weekly to maintain chart positions rather than spiking and crashing. Labels used to buy 10 to 20,000 copies weekly for emerging pop art acts to keep them chart stable, signaling credibility to retail chains and radio programmers. Now here's where the conspiracy theory trigger point comes in. Fans noticed her radio numbers didn't match her sales trajectory. This mismatch became the core evidence used in Reddit threads, leading to speculation that Scott Swift or Big Machine used distribution buys to simulate organic momentum until genuine radio and fan interest caught up. So these are the radio spins. Week 1, it was number 19, and it had 0 to 400 spins total across 40 stations. Week 2, it was at number 35, and it had 850 spins total on 45 stations. Then the next week it had 1,200 spins, then 1,500, then 2,000. The release date was October 24th, 2006. Songs serviced June 19th. No major stations added it. No clear channel of support. Still considered low ad. Sales don't match exposure. CMT begins very light rotation and no major radio live appearances. This is week 1, week 2, week 3. Growing but still regional. MySpace presence starts spreading. Trending. Big Machine promotes her as the new girl writing songs in math class. First People Magazine Teen Country feature, still no late night TV slots or major network push. Now the normal trajectory for unknown debut, sales spike leads radio picks up in response, then sales fall until the radio gives exposure, and then sales rebound. Taylor's trajectory was sales were strong before radio rotation caught up. This matches label-driven chart placement strategy used historically to signal to radio, look, she's selling, add her. It flips the natural order. And here's why fans point to the warehouse bulk purchase theory. Albums were likely shipped in large blocks to retail chains like Walmart and Target and counted as sales under SoundScan rules even before actual consumer sell-through. Scott Swift's known financial investment and 3% stake in Big Machine gave him direct access to distribution strategy. And small labels often front buy to keep inventory moving and simulate traction. This has happened in country music with debut acts before. Example, LeAnn Rimes' early shipments were later revealed to include promotional buy-ins. And the key Reddit talking point is she had no radio backing, no major network visibility, yet her sales curve looked like a seasoned act with label buy support, not a teen debut with no audience. And this is in Popheads, ATRL culture threads, and Swift conspiracy compilations. I don't know, but the data sure looks like somebody. It doesn't make any sense. Make it make sense.